Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I am grateful for my father for countless reasons. His support, his guidance, his unconditional love, but perhaps most momentously, he taught me how to drive stick shift. It's true. We started in a parking lot, starting and stopping, and from there he took me downtown Halifax. And for those who have not had the pleasure, my beautiful hometown in the province of Nova Scotia is built on a 30-degree hill, and it was rush hour. Don't hit the car in front of you, and don't hit the car behind you, he instructed. Perhaps his pedagogy would not be sanctioned by modern-day driver's ed. It wasn't sanctioned by driver's ed when I was 16 either, but it was highly effective, and I learned to drive very quickly. Fast forward 31 years, and with no other cars available, I had to rent a manual car while on vacation in Portugal. Scaling the old cities of Porto and Lisbon, I found myself desperately trying to recall my dad's lessons. Thankfully, not a person was harmed nor a car dented, thanks to my father and his into-the-fire approach on those startling steep hills of Halifax. I kept thinking, what a miracle it was that I remembered how to do this, the clutch and the gas, the shifting of gears. But what impressed me further was that I didn't need to ask for directions or to buy a map. All I needed was my trusty Waze app, designed with brilliant Israeli military technology. I instantly knew my fastest route anywhere in the country. Waze is a veritable Jewish gift to the world. And as it turns out, navigation has often been a strong suit for our people. Notwithstanding that 40-year jaunt through the desert, Jewish people have significantly contributed direction and innovative technology to the world at large. While walking through the quaint side streets of Lisbon with our historian and guide, Paolo Scheffer, we learned about the influence of great Jewish sages who altered the course of the Age of Discovery. This period saw the rising influence of astronomer, mathematician, and rabbi Abraham Zacuto, an advisor to Christopher Columbus. He plotted Columbus's route to the New World in 1492, the same year that King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella expelled Zacuto and his fellow Jewish citizens from Spain. Taking refuge in Lisbon, Zacuto was named Royal Astronomer because his charts and the astrolabe, a navigational instrument Zacuto perfected, helped make Portugal a preeminent world power of the time. And other Jews of Portugal throughout history have held high social and political ranks as well. However, these years were marked by inquisitions, forced baptisms, and brutal massacres which have been overlooked in many historical references. Crypto-Jews, as the name suggests, were Spanish and Portuguese citizens who had converted to Catholicism while continuing to practice Judaism in secret. For example, standing before a stall at an outdoor market, Paolo introduced us to the alheira, a type of Portuguese sausage made with chicken. Its origins date back to when new Christians, as they were called by their contemporaries, would hang these deceptive sausages outside their doors to dispel any suspicion that they were anything but good pork-eating Christians. Paolo recalled his own family's crypto-Jewish traditions. When his family moved to Florida for several years, his father had a dining room table custom built with multiple hidden drawers. Why? A 500-year-old family tradition. You see, in the 16th century, his ancestors stealthily partook in a Shabbat dinner. Of course, a Sabbath meal was illegal and punishable by death. So his family's workaround was to have plates that could easily be slid into the drawers, and a deck of cards was always on hand to explain the table gathering if needed. In standing on the threshold of the St. Domingo's Church, Paolo described a 4-day frenzy of violence that happened there in 1506, when a mob of worshipers and foreign sailors tortured and murdered and burned between 1,000 and 4,000 new Christians. Here, Paolo persuaded the Portuguese government to erect a monument. Cutting through vast political red tape, he succeeded in creating a moving tribute to the thousands massacred. Paolo is a historian, a college professor, a Jewish advocate with encyclopedic knowledge, soon to be expressed in his upcoming book on crypto-Jews. And in his own religious practice, he is caught between traditional Orthodox Jewish law and his crypto-Jewish identity. The Orthodox synagogue in Lisbon has made it clear that he is not to be counted as a Jew, as he does not meet the religious standards that they have set forth. It's kind of unbelievable. The nuances of our movements and the insular protection of rabbinic law do serve a purpose, but to what end? King Ferdinand didn't draw a distinction between Orthodox or liberal. Hitler certainly didn't. And when the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh was attacked in 2018, the shooter clearly wasn't interested in the denomination of its congregants. A Jew is a Jew, period. I would suggest that segregation might end up being one of the greatest threats to our longevity as a people. In this week's Torah portion, Moses sends 12 scouts to explore the Holy Land. Upon their return after 40 days, all but 2 of the scouts brought nothing but slander against the land and drummed up fear of its inhabitants. Caleb and Joshua argued that the land we passed through is an exceedingly good land. God is with us. Do not fear, they said. But the people were not convinced, and when God's presence appeared, and they were exiled to the desert for 40 years, 1 year for every day of the disastrous expedition, only Caleb and Joshua were allowed to enter the promised land. All of our biblical ancestors, in this case, were Jewish. They simply differed in their beliefs, and in my view, God's need for uniformity of opinion weakens the Israelites' destiny. Back to Paolo. I told him I'd like to share his story this evening, and with his permission, and echoing the message of this week's Torah portion, he offered the following. He wrote, "The current attrition rate in world Jewry is not encouraging. So many people are disassociating from our culture, faith, history, and nation. The first step a family takes before making a journey is to gather everyone together. For the Jewish people, this can only happen today by removing the barriers that divide us. Politics, religious practices, Orthodox, conservative, reform, progressive, all that God wants is us as one people, close to one God, in one place with one Torah." Thank you, Paolo. Dear friends, the very first Jew, our forefather Abraham, was guided by the very same stars that helped navigate Rabbi Zacuto to the New World. In fact, without that moment, none of us would be here. In Cuando el Rey Nimrod, perhaps the most well-known Judeo-Spanish or Ladino song, we learn about the stars serving as a sign that Abraham will be the leader of our great nation. The lyrics read, Abraham our father, our blessed father, the light of Israel, we draw upon the tenets of this beautiful religion that you have bestowed upon us to help gather all of our people. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Bueno, and we offer this as an anthem. Cuando Rey Nimrod al campo salía, miraba en el cielo y en la estrellería, vido una luz santa en la judería que había de nacer. Abraham Avinu, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel. La mujer de Tera quedó prefiada, de día en día él le preguntaba, ¿de qué tenés la cera tan mudada? Eva sabía el bien que tenía. Saludemos al compadre y también al Emanu-El. Abraham vino, Padre querido, Padre bendito, luz de Israel.